You are looking at a machine that should not exist. Found in a 2,000-year-old shipwreck, it's a device with a level of technological sophistication that wouldn't be seen again on this planet for another 1,500 years. It's an artifact so complex, so far beyond its time, that for decades, historians simply refused to believe it was real. This isn't just a gear or a tool. This is an analog computer from the age of Julius Caesar, a machine that could predict the future. And to this day, it remains the single most baffling ancient discovery science simply cannot fully explain. Our story begins not in a lab, but in the treacherous waters of the Aegean Sea. The year is 1900. A team of Greek sponge divers, led by Captain Dimitrios Kontos, is sailing home when a violent storm forces them to take shelter near the tiny, remote island of Antiquity. When the storm subsides, they decide to dive, hoping to salvage their lost time. One of the divers, Elias Stadiatis, surfaces in a panic, babbling about a horrifying heap of naked dead bodies on the seafloor. The captain, thinking the man had gone mad from the pressure, dove down himself. What he found wasn't a graveyard, but something far more extraordinary: the scattered remains of a massive Roman cargo ship, perfectly preserved for 2 millennia, its treasures guarded by bronze and marble statues that looked eerily human in the deep-sea gloom. The Greek government quickly launched the world's first major underwater archaeological expedition. Over the next year, they recovered a breathtaking haul of treasures: stunning bronze statues, intricate glassware, pottery, and coins. And amidst all this priceless art, they found a few lumps of corroded bronze, fused together with marine life. They were dismissed as little more than rock. One of these lumps, about the size of a large book, was sent to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. For 2 years, it sat in storage, completely ignored. A forgotten piece of junk from the greatest treasure hoard of the ancient world. But history has a strange way of revealing its secrets. If you believe there are more truths buried in our past, make sure you're subscribed, because this forgotten lump of rock was about to rewrite it. In May of 1902, an archaeologist named Valerios Stais was examining the artifacts. He noticed that the corroded lump had split apart, likely from drying out. He peered inside the crack, and his heart must have stopped. What he saw was impossible. It wasn't rock. It was a wheel. A gear wheel with perfectly uniform, triangular teeth. He looked closer and saw more gears, layered on top of each other in a system of breathtaking complexity. He announced his findings immediately. He believed he had found some kind of astronomical clock. The academic world laughed at him. They called him crazy. A complex machine with precision gearing? From ancient Greece? It was absurd. The technology for that kind of clockwork simply didn't exist until the 14th century in Europe. The consensus was that it must be a later object that somehow fell on the wreck. And so, for nearly 50 years, the mystery was buried again. This time under the weight of academic dogma. The world moved on. 2 world wars reshaped the globe. Technology exploded, leading to the atomic age and the space race. Yet, the most sophisticated piece of technology from the ancient world sat in a box, misunderstood and ignored. It was an upart and out-of-place artifact, an inconvenient truth that didn't fit the neat, linear progression of history we're all taught in school. The idea that ancient civilizations were primitive is a comfortable one, but the Antikythera mechanism is deeply uncomfortable. It suggests a past that is far more complex, and perhaps far more advanced than we've ever imagined. The mystery wouldn't be revisited until the 1950s by a British science historian named Derek J. de Sola Price. He became obsessed with the device. He knew that simple visual inspection wasn't enough. The secrets were locked inside the corroded mass. With the help of a Greek radiologist, he did something revolutionary for the time. He X-rayed the fragments. The images that came back were grainy, but they were world-changing. Beneath the layers of corrosion, a universe of complexity was revealed. Not one or two gears, but dozens. A complex system of interlocking wheels and pinions, arranged in a way that suggested a single, unified purpose. Price spent the next 2 decades painstakingly mapping every single gear he could identify from these faint images. What he uncovered was a machine more complex than any known device for the next 1,000 years. So, what was this machine? Price concluded it was an astronomical calculator, an analog computer. On the front was a large circular dial with 2 pointers. One showed the position of the sun in the zodiac, the other showed the phase of the moon. This wasn't just a simple 365-day calendar. It accounted for the leap year. The moon pointer was even more incredible. It didn't move at a constant speed. It subtly sped up and slowed down to model the moon's elliptical orbit, an anomaly known as the first anomaly of the moon. This is a level of astronomical and mechanical sophistication that is simply staggering for the 2nd century BC, and that was just the front. The back of the device held the true genius. There were 2 large spiral dials. The top one, the Metonic dial, was a 235-month calendar used to reconcile the solar and lunar years. It was the master calendar of the Greek world. The bottom dial was even more mind-blowing. It was an eclipse prediction dial. It tracked something called the Saros cycle, an 18-year, 11-day, 8-hour period that can be used to predict both solar and lunar eclipses. Glyphs on the dial indicated the character of the upcoming eclipse. In essence, by turning a single crank on the side of this box, you could wind time forward or backward and see the exact state of the heavens on any given date. You could know when the next full moon would be, and you could know when the sun itself would go dark. It wasn't just a clock, it was a portable cosmos. To achieve all this, the creator of the mechanism used techniques that were thought to be a modern invention. The most shocking example is the system used to model the moon's variable motion. It used what's known as epicyclic or planetary gearing, where smaller gears orbit around the center of larger ones. This setup functions as what modern engineers call a differential gear, the same device that allows the wheels of your car to turn at different speeds when you take a corner. The first known differential gear, before this discovery, appeared in the 16th century. Yet, here it was, in a device from ancient Greece. This isn't a case of, they were smarter than we thought. This is a case of, they possessed a technology that, according to our historical records, absolutely should not have existed. For years, many still doubted Price's conclusions. The X-rays were too blurry, the interpretation too speculative. The final proof had to wait for the 21st century. In 2005, a massive international research project was launched. They used cutting-edge technology, a custom-built 8-ton 3D X-ray scanner to peer inside the fragments with unprecedented clarity. They were able to count the teeth on every single surviving gear. They could read the faint inscriptions, smaller than a millimeter, that covered every available surface of the machine. These inscriptions were essentially a user's manual, explaining the functions of the various dials and pointers. Modern science didn't debunk the mystery, it confirmed it in terrifying detail. Price had been right. In fact, the device was even more complex than he had dared to imagine. The new scans revealed evidence of gearing for all 5 of the planets known to the Greeks. This wasn't just a sun and moon calculator, it was a complete planetarium. A miniature mechanical model of the solar system as they understood it. This elevates the device from a mere calculator to a profound piece of philosophical equipment. It represents a worldview where the cosmos is not the chaotic whim of the gods, but a great, understandable machine, a clockwork universe that operates on predictable mathematical principles. And someone, 2,000 years ago, not only understood this, but had the technical skill to build a machine that proved it. This leads to the biggest question of all. Who could have possibly built this? The level of astronomical knowledge required was immense, pointing to figures like the great astronomer Hipparchus. The level of mechanical genius is equally staggering. The Roman writer Cicero actually mentions two such machines, built by the legendary inventor Archimedes, who was killed in 212 BC, decades before the shipwreck. Cicero described them as spheres that modeled the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. At the time, historians dismissed Cicero's account as fanciful exaggeration. Now, they're not so sure. Could the Antikythera mechanism be a descendant of a machine built by Archimedes himself? Or was there an entire school of mechanical genius that history has simply forgotten? Perhaps the most disturbing part of this story isn't that the machine existed, but that the technology behind it completely vanished. There is nothing else like it in the archaeological record. The next time we see anything even approaching this level of complexity is in the great astronomical clocks of 14th century Europe, over 1,500 years later. It's as if someone invented a smartphone in the age of horse-drawn carriages, and then everyone forgot how to make one, and went back to sending messages by raven for the next millennium and a half. What happened? Why was this incredible knowledge lost? Did the workshop that built it get destroyed? Was it a closely guarded secret held by a tiny few who died without passing it on? The loss of this technology represents one of the greatest intellectual setbacks in human history. The existence of this one device forces us to reconsider everything we think we know about the ancient world. The standard historical model is one of steady linear progress. Primitive man, then agriculture, then early civilizations, then the Greeks and Romans, a step back in the Dark Ages, and then a steady climb from the Renaissance to today. The Antikythera mechanism shatters that simple narrative. It suggests that history is not a straight line. It might be a series of peaks and valleys, of incredible advances and catastrophic losses. It hints at a level of knowledge in the ancient world that we are only just beginning to appreciate. It opens the door to the possibility that other stories, long dismissed as myth, might have a basis in fact. Think about what this device represents. It's a snapshot of the peak of ancient Greek scientific and engineering prowess. It's the physical manifestation of a brilliant mind, a mind that could grasp the complexities of the cosmos and translate them into bronze. The ship that carried it was likely a treasure vessel, taking plunder from Greece back to Rome. This device, this computer, was considered a treasure worthy of being on that ship. Alongside priceless works of art, it was the pinnacle of their knowledge, lost to the sea in a storm, and then lost to history for 2,000 years. It's a message in a bottle, a voice from a forgotten world, telling us that they were more like us than we ever knew. Naturally, an object this far ahead of its time attracts more speculative theories. Some see it as evidence of a lost, high-tech civilization like Atlantis, whose knowledge was passed down in fragments to cultures like the Greeks. Others go even further, suggesting extraterrestrial influence, arguing that no human culture at the time could have developed this knowledge on their own. While mainstream science dismisses these ideas, the mechanism's existence provides fertile ground for them. When a known artifact is this inexplicable, it stretches the boundaries of what we consider possible, and it makes you wonder what else might be out there, still buried, waiting to be found. So for all the incredible discoveries, for every gear we've mapped, and every celestial cycle we've finally deciphered, the deepest questions remain unanswered. The truth is, the mystery is far from solved. We're still standing in the dark when it comes to the most fundamental facts. Who was the genius behind this? Was it a single mind, an ancient Da Vinci working in isolation? Or was it the product of a dedicated workshop, a team of brilliant artisans on an island like Rhodes? There's no signature, no maker's mark. It's an anonymous masterpiece, And that leads to an even bigger unknown. Was this device a singular miracle of engineering? A one-of-a-kind commission for a king? Or was it just one of many? Perhaps even a standard piece of equipment for ancient astronomers? It's a chilling thought. If these incredible machines were once common, where are all the others? Were they melted down for their bronze? Or did they all corrode into dust? Finding this one might be like finding the sole surviving manuscript from a library of 1 million lost volumes. We can read the one we have, but we can't even begin to imagine what was written in all the others. What's truly maddening is that the object we've so painstakingly studied, it's incomplete. We've only recovered about a third of the original machine from the wreckage, 82 fragments, eaten away by 2 millennia of immersion in salt water. The rest of it is a ghost. 2/3 of this technological marvel is either still buried in the sand surrounding that shipwreck, or it was simply obliterated by the crushing weight of time and the sea. Imagine trying to understand a modern jet engine by looking at just a handful of fan blades and wires. That's the challenge we face. So we're left to wonder, what functions did those missing parts have? What other cosmic secrets did the full machine hold? The gears we have already track the sun, the moon, eclipses, even the timing of the Olympic Games. What other knowledge was encoded in the pieces that are gone? Did it have intricate dials for all 5 of the planets known to the Greeks? Did it predict other astronomical events with a precision we can't yet comprehend? The most sophisticated parts, the most mind-bending functions, might be exactly what's missing. The answers we seek could be lying just a few meters away on the seabed, or they could be gone forever. The Antiquity mechanism gave us one profound answer. It proved that the ancient world possessed a mechanical and scientific sophistication we thought was impossible. But in solving that one mystery, it shattered our timeline of technology and left us with 100 new questions. It remains a beautiful, deeply frustrating, and profoundly humbling puzzle. The Antiquity mechanism is so much more than just a piece of ancient wreckage. To call it an artifact feels like an understatement. It's really a testament to human ingenuity. But what does that truly mean? It means that someone, more than 2,000 years ago, with nothing but hand tools, charcoal fires, and their own brilliant mind, engineered a level of mechanical complexity that, honestly, shouldn't exist. It's like finding a Swiss watch in a Roman ruin. The precision is just staggering. We're talking about dozens of interlocking bronze gears, some with teeth barely a millimeter across, all calibrated to perfectly model the irregular orbit of the moon and predict eclipses decades in advance. A clockwork computer, built before the birth of Christ. This device speaks to a fundamental human drive, that timeless, burning desire to look up at the stars and make sense of it all, to understand our place in that vast, silent cosmic dance. This wasn't just a fancy calendar. It was an attempt to grasp the architecture of the heavens, to impose a human, mathematical order on the divine. And that's what makes it so humbling. It proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that the capacity for this kind of genius, this high-level abstract and mechanical thinking, isn't a modern invention. It's always been with us. It's a profound check on our own arrogance. And that's why it serves as such a stark, almost violent reminder that history is not a closed book. It's not a finished story. It's a living mystery. And we don't just have chapters missing. We have entire libraries that have been burned to the ground. This single discovery, this one calcified lump of corroded bronze that was ignored for years, proves that our past holds secrets that can still shock us to our core. It shows that a single object can completely unravel the neat and tidy timeline of progress we've built for ourselves. So, what's the truth here? Was this the singular, magnificent obsession of a forgotten genius? An ancient mind on par with Newton, whose name and story are lost to the sea? Or is it something more chilling? A relic from a whole technological tradition, a civilization we know nothing about, whose other achievements have been wiped from the historical record? Let us know your theory in the comments below.